Hi everyone, welcome back to the Empowerment Network, of course, Comfort Convo, and today we are joined again by Mike Ellis. We are just very excited, and of course, Mike, welcome.
Yeah, no, thank you, Comfort. It's as usual, it's a joy to be on with you, and we always shine a little light on the issues at hand.
Yes, exactly. So today, I know the CEO came out on Wednesday and said a few exciting things, like you were saying earlier on, but I really wanted us to get clear about his ABC plan.
Yeah, and last time I was on with you, Comfort, we told people when Ash comes out and we have stuff to share, I'll come back on, and Comfort and I will kick it around a little bit. And last time I was on with Comfort, we talked about the evil that had come into OnPassive. And most of us know about that. You've heard Mr. Mufareh talk about it. And I've said this on Comfort Show before. With me, everything starts in Christ, with Christ, and through Christ, and everything ends in Christ, with Christ, and through Christ. And it doesn't really, I know we have a lot of different ideologies out there in OnPassive. I know that. And whether you're an atheist, an agnostic, whether you're a humanist, and everything is everything's right or wrong. There really is no right answer to it. It can be right or wrong. But if you've been on OnPassive for the last, well, actually the last couple of months, with Mr. Mufareh, it's been the last year. He's had a pretty tough road to hoe the last year. But if you've been in, I really don't care what your ideology is. You understand there is evil in the world, period. All you have to do, if you're a humanist and you think everything is relative, all you have to do is look at what's happened within OnPassive. You see the evil. And if there's evil, in my mind, there's another side to that. There's good. And Mr. Mufareh came out 2 days ago, last Wednesday on 360 Live, and he talked a little bit about the history, but he got into what OnPassive is doing. And it's really, really good. And I'll start with what everybody heard. It's the easiest thing to hear and maybe not understand, but to hear it. And Mr. Mufareh came out and he talked about different scenarios: scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, right? And if you think about that, it's pretty obvious. Well, he's talking about 3 different scenarios. What does that mean? It means that scenario 1 might not happen. Scenario 2 might not happen. But scenario 3 is in concrete, okay? Scenario 3 will happen, period. Now, when he talked about scenario 3, that's 3 months out. None of us want to wait 3 months. That's why scenario 1, scenario 2 are so intriguing. And Mr. Mufareh, when he talked about scenario 1, that's the one he wants to come into fruition. He wants us to be able to see it and then actually start participating with OnPassive. And scenario 1 is this month. Well, how much is left in this month? It's a week. So we don't have to wait long. I don't really have to speculate on scenario 1. We got a week. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Now, Mr. Mufareh thought it would, and he could be right. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see. But scenario 1 he said this. It's all about getting the OES back office up again, so that we can actually start participating with OnPassive. Now, he didn't go over exactly what would happen as the OES back office comes up and all the details involved with that. If scenario 1 happens this coming week, in the next 7 days, the OES back office is going to come up, and Mr. Mufareh, he is going to explain to us exactly what it is and what we need to do. And when you start thinking about OnPassive, and I've heard other affiliates out there, they go, OnPassive, it hasn't changed. It is still a passive business. I don't agree with that. OnPassive is not a passive business. It has never been a passive business, and it will not be a passive business when the OES back office comes back up. There are things you will have to do. Now, I've also heard him talk about, you really shouldn't speculate about what's coming, what Mr. Mufareh is going to say, what's going to be in the OES back office if it comes up next week. And I listen to that and I go, well, guys, that's what I do. I speculate. And I've done it for 5.5 years. I'm not going to stop. I will continue to speculate. Now, I will honor Mr. Mufareh's wishes. Don't talk about anything that he hasn't said yet. So have I speculated on what's going to happen as the OES back office comes up and Mr. Mufareh asks us to do certain things? Oh yeah, I have. But it really is irrelevant. I don't need to go into that. Again, we have a week. That's it. We're going to know. Now, what happens if scenario 2, what if scenario 1 doesn't quite make it and we go into scenario 2, and that we have the month of September, okay? So 1 week for scenario 1, 1 month for scenario 2. Scenario 2, again, is bringing up the OES back office, maybe minus a few little things that were back there, and then the same things happen that would have happened with scenario 1. Hopefully that made sense. And I believe that could happen very, very quickly. A lot of people think, well, it'll be the end of September. No. It could happen the first week. It could happen the first day of September. It could happen the second week, third week, fourth. I don't know when that's going to be. Again, I won't speculate about. I have in my mind, but I won't speculate it right here and now. Now, what happens if scenario 2 doesn't happen? Well, now we're into scenario 3. That's the big dog, guys. That's what we're waiting for. That's when all the rainbows come out. That's when all the joy, everybody starts dancing on the roofs. It is the things that Mr. Mufareh has done over the last year to get us to the place where we should have been 2 years ago. And he said that. So that's not speculation. Again, I won't speculate. But what he said is enough to understand scenario 3 is the big dog. It's where we all want to get. Now, if 1 and 2 don't happen, we get to the end of September, are we going to wait 3 months for scenario 3? No, we're not. Scenario 3, we don't know how long that's been in the progression. Could have been August. So we're ready in October, September, end of September, happening in October. So all of this time, OnPassive is doing the things they need to do to get to that scenario 3 and then just blow the doors off. So that's a quick synopsis of 1, 2, and 3. Not hard. And the really cool thing about 1, 2, and 3 is that, number 1, we got a week. That's nothing. It's gone. And Mr. Mufareh really, really believes, and he wants that to happen. Will it happen? We're going to wait and see. Scenario 2, next month. Boom, done. I tell you, today, we've all been in OnPassive for so long. A week or a month is like a blink of an eye. It just goes. So whatever happens, 1, 2, or 3, they're all really, really good. And as we think about 1 and 2, if one of them comes up, 1 or 2, next week or next month, immediately Mr. Mufareh, and he said this, is going to start talking about phase 3. He didn't put in those terms. That's what he's saying. In other words, here we are. OES is back. We have our business. We've gone to work. We're doing the things Mr. Mufareh asked us to do. And then he's going to start telling us what's coming. And it's going to get better and better and better and better. And in a very, very short period of time, in 3 months, especially when we're working, when OnPassive is up and we're working and things are happening and we can see things in the back office and maybe the money starts, all kinds of things could be happening. 3 months from there to there is absolutely nothing. And then when we go into that scenario 3, it really is Katie bar the door. It's going to be extremely fun when Mr. Mufareh gets there. And let's talk a little bit about that, because he did talk a little bit about it. Over the course of the last year, he's been dealing with all this. He's talked about it. And it's been really, really hard for Mr. Mufareh. and he is, I mean, if he doesn't want you to know something, you're not going to know it, because he kept this really, really close to his vest. Nobody knew the problems that OnPassive was having with the evil that had come into OnPassive. And when I think about that, I know now what Mr. Mufareh has been doing over the last year. And it's what OnPassive does all the time. We find a problem, and that's really an understatement, saying what happened in OnPassive was a problem. It was really, really bad. And then Mr. Mufareh, he goes to work, our crazy genius, the wonderful place where his mind is, he finds a solution for that problem. That was a year, guys. It took him a year to get through all the junk to get to the place where he had the solution, and then he implemented, i.e., we're talking about number 3 here. That's already in progress. They're already working on that. So he did that before he came out and told us about anything. And I'll give you, you know, we talk about speculation, and Marty, Dan, and I, we speculate all the time. I'll give you an example of some of the speculating we do, just to give you an idea of some of the things we don't talk about. I would say about 6 months into last year, Marty, Dan, and I, we had no clue what was going on OnPassive. Mr. Mufareh did not tell us anything. And I was on a call with Marty DeGarmo. Most people know who Marty is. And we were just throwing things around, and Marty said something. And I just went, whoa, you got it. That's it. And it had a lot to do with what was going on last year. And obviously when Marty did that, my mind starts racing, and I start to think about a lot of different things. And we really never knew the conclusion of what was going to happen until Mr. Mufareh came out and said it to all of us. He did not share anything with us, but Marty, he's very, very intuitive. And when he said this, I went, yeah, you're right. Now, Dan is the same way. I was on a conversation with Dan 2 days ago. This is recent, guys. And we're just having a nice conversation. We're talking about things that we talk about. And Dan said something, and I just went, whoa, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely spot on. And again, when I listen to Dan, when I listen to Mari, they're so intuitive, so in tune to what OnPassive is doing, listening to Mr. Mufareh. They say things that just, you go, oh yeah. And by the way, guys, all of it is good. So when we start to think about OnPassive, we know scenario 1, 2, and 3. But the really intriguing thing that Mr. Mufareh talked about was what's going to be happening when we get into that number 3. And he put it in his own terms. But he talked about OnPassive having, not OnPassive, but Ash Mufareh having a view at 40,000 feet. Okay. Marty, Dan, and I, we're on a step ladder. Saying hi to your little one, Comfort. Marty, Dan, and I, and that's fine. Marty, Dan, and I, we are on a step ladder. Maybe it's a tall step ladder, but it's just a step ladder, guys. When you think of Mr. Mufareh, he has that 40,000 foot view. And he talked about that just a few days ago. It is a beautiful place to be. And he said, listen, I understand you can't see what I see, but you will very, very shortly. When I start to talk about these things, I'm going to be concise. I'm going to give you time frames. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening. And when we get into that place, when we get into series 3 and things start to just break loose, it's just going to be, it's going to be the place to be. So that's kind of what he talked about last 2 days ago, Comfort. Hopefully I made sense. It's kind of how I see it in my little brain, Comfort. But it's all good. It really is.
Yeah, I know you this is a lot of help, and of course you made sense, because people listen, they don't get it, and they interpret it the way they want. Sometimes we just need to listen to this. But then, you know, you talked about the scenarios, and you laid a lot of emphasis on the third one first you say scenario number 3 is going to happen, period,
Yep.
because that's the big dog we've been waiting for the past or since the last 2 years. You seem to be a bit like confident here that this last quarter of the year will definitely be good for us. You think so?
You know, confidence isn't even the word, Comfort. It's a done deal. When you think about what Mr. Mufareh has done over the last year, when you think about the talent he's brought into OnPassive, when you think about how well they are working together, and again, these are inferences from what Mr. Mufareh has told us. He's going to give us more and more detail on how all this stuff works, but it is working so well right now. I mean, I think it's as close to perfect as you can get. You know, when we talk about scenario 1, we talk about scenario 2. I think these guys and gals, they've got it done. All the issues we had coming in for the last 5.5 years and the last year, for these individuals, in my mind, was a piece of cake. They're going, well, this is silly. You should have opened 2 years ago. And that's where they're taking us. They're taking us to the place we should have been 2 years ago. And with the enthusiasm that Mr. Mufareh has, that they have, is going to be contagious. We will catch it all over again if you've lost it. Now, a lot of people haven't lost that enthusiasm. I'm one of them. And I won't lose it because I understand OnPassive is the only place to be if you want to find that place where you can actually develop an income online and have that financial security that we're all looking for. There's no other place. But yeah, it's more than what you said, Comfort. It's a done deal. It's absolutely about as perfect as you can get it. And they're going to continue to try and make it even better and better and better. So yeah, we're just in a really, really great place, Comfort. We really are.
All right. So the other day, Red and myself, we were discussing the topic which said you can't just sit and do nothing. And today, again, in other words, according to me, you said OnPassive is not a passive business. So is that something you need to say a bit more to that?
Yeah. In fact, I could talk about that for an hour, Comfort. OnPassive has never been passive. And as scenario 1 or 2 comes out, Mr. Mufareh is going to come out and he's going to talk to us all. He's going to tell us what it is, what's happening, what he wants us to do. You cannot be passive here. Now, you weren't passive when you came into OnPassive. You came in, you looked at the company, you looked at the owner, you looked at the products, you looked at the concept that Ash had. It was not a passive activity. You came in and you got involved with OnPassive and you engaged. As OnPassive comes out, either scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, Mr. Mufareh is going to come out. He's going to go, listen, this is what you need to do. And again, we've got a week. I won't get into the little details here. And believe me, when Mr. Mufareh gives us the green light, Marty, Dan, and I, we're going to have a lot to say. I mean, a lot to say. But as Mr. Mufareh comes out and he asks you the few things he needs you to do, don't question them. And you're not going to have to, because they're going to make perfect sense why he's doing it. Number 1, he's getting OnPassive up and running again and everybody engaged again. And you're going to be able to see your business in live color. It's happening now. That's such a big deal. He wants that to happen right now. And then as that happens, we do the things Mr. Mufareh asks us to do. Again, it is not passive. You have to come in and do these things. Then he's going to start talking about phase 3, I believe. These are my beliefs. And as he starts to talk about phase 3, scenario 3, whatever you want to say, whatever word you want to use, it's just an exciting place to be, because OnPassive will have already been up, it's running, and now we're moving forward in a very, very quick way. So, yeah, being passive. If you're passive within OnPassive, chances are you're going to miss the initial launching of OnPassive. You're going to miss the boat. You're not going to see it. You're not going to be involved. Someone will tell you about it, and then later on you're going to come in and do the things you need to do. But I still believe OnPassive, and it's not a belief, I know this. OnPassive is here to change your life. And the way they do that initially is financially. And if Mr. Mufareh asks you to come in and do a few things, if you're interested in your financial bottom line, Just do the things he asks you to do. Again, it is not, you know, I've always had a love-hate relationship between OnPassive, because when people listen to OnPassive, they go, oh, and it's passive. I don't have to do anything. It's never been that way. It never has been that way. It never will be that way. But the really cool thing about OnPassive and with the things you need to do, everybody can do them. Doesn't matter what your background is. Doesn't matter if you have a computer background. Doesn't even matter if you graduated elementary school. It doesn't matter. You can do the things if you just engage. You can do the things that Mr. Mufareh is going to ask you to do. It's not that hard. It won't be that hard to do. And yeah, it's
all right.
there are so many things I'd love to talk about, Comfort, that again, it's speculation. I won't do that. We've got a week.
Exactly.
After that, believe me, we're going to come on and talk about things that'll just blow you away.
Yeah. So I know Mike, definitely a few people will come after me when they hear you explain how OnPassive is not passive. You can't just sit and do nothing. So what happens to it's all done for you?
That's a really, really good term. It's all done for you. What does that mean? What does it mean? Again, I have to be a little careful here. Comfort.
All right, sure.
No.
Share just what you can. Let's keep what we can't share for now. When it's time, we'll definitely get that done.
No, I mean, that's a really, really good question. It really is, yeah. Comfort. And I'll have an answer for you. It's all done for you. Okay. Let's go to a weight room. You work out in a weight room, and you go into the weight room, and the trainer comes out and said, everything's here. It's all yours. You're going to get in great shape. You know, it's just a piece of cake. And you think, well, okay, everything's there. Do I have to do anything? And the weight trainer is going to go, well, yeah, you have to use what we put in front of you. And that is OnPassive. Yeah, it's all done for you, but you have to use the things that are in front of you. It's like, as let's say scenario one, it comes up, Mr. Mufareh comes out, and he goes, okay, here's what I want you to do. Number one, you have to buy OCONNECT, and it's $75 for 3 months. He's talked about that a little bit. Okay, you still have to do that. OnPassive is going to do everything they do. They are going to make sure, you know, forced success is real. They're going to make sure you succeed, but you have to engage and you have to do the few little things that Mr. Mufareh asks you to do. It's done all for you. That's just not life. There is nothing you do where everything is done for you. I mean, you might have a cook, but you got to feed yourself. You just do. So hopefully that helped a little bit, Comfort.
It does, Mike. It does. I just wanted you to make that quick comment because they'll still come, but then I think
it was a good question. It's a good question. Really was.
Right. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming. And guys, just let's know what you think about what Mike has just said. Drop your comment, share your excitement. And of course, if you have a question, always drop it in the chat section and we'll come back for you if it's really necessary. Thank you, Mike. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, and realize that Mr. Mufareh is going to give us the green light fairly quick. If it happens next week, we get a green light. Can we talk about everything? No, but we can talk about a lot of things. And it's no longer speculation. And you're going to understand exactly what's happening, why Mr. Mufareh is doing it, why we're doing what we're doing, and we're going to be able to get into the third phase, the third scenario of OnPassive. And Mr. Mufareh is going to do that. He's going to come on and start telling you exactly what it is. The three scenarios, not a big deal. One of them is, I know one of them is going to happen. I know three is going to happen for sure. Mr. Mufareh wants number one to happen, and that happens next week. So let's wait and see when it does happen or doesn't happen. We'll come on. Comfort and I will talk some more, and we'll keep you on the right track. Comfort always does.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Mike. Thanks. And of course, guys, go ahead and share if you find this important. Subscribe and see you soon. Thank you, Mike. Bye.
Thank you.